Hello, Bethel family. My name is William Wesley Powell II. Many of you know me, and those of you who don't, you're about to. I was born into two families, both of which struggled with many of the same things. From a young age, one theme was evident in all facets of my life: substance abuse. From age 5 and up, I began noticing things: the small bags of white powder stashed under the bookshelf, or the needles in various containers stashed around the houses. The evil seeped into everything. Experiences in drug dealers' houses infested my nightmares, and the long, dark nights in which my father pleaded with himself haunted my sleep even further. I'm telling you this today not to make excuses for how I act, but to show you how God has used them to make me who I am. Many people in my life have reversed the darkness that overcame me. Many of those people are in this room today. In the 4th grade, after a continuing battle with addiction, my mom and I found ourselves homeless and living in a car after being stripped from my life in Delaware for nearly a year. But this wouldn't last. My 2 grandparents, Bill and Pauline Powell, who had been taking me to Bethel for nearly a decade, would come in and save me from ever having to live a life without a roof over my head. These 2 people, who may look average to you, are heroes to me, and God has blessed me with them over and over. In 6th grade, nearly a year after moving in with them, my father was still struggling with addiction. The late nights still drawed me from my rest, and the paraphernalia was still evident. However, I still had an escape: Fuel Youth Ministries. Fuel, led by Mr. and Mrs. Davis, became a safe haven away from the arguments and whispers behind locked doors. Even though I was obnoxious, annoying, and extremely immature, they accepted me for who I was and only raised their voice when I was, quite frankly, acting like an idiot. It's a frequent joke between Fuel leaders, the difference between the boy that went on a week-long trip to Nashville and the man that stands before you today. So I present to you 2 more people who God has blessed me with. Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Davis. To show you a little more about how huge of an impact these people have made in my life, I'd like to remember with you something that I will never forget. In 2021, my father passed away from the continuous abuse that he riddled his body with. And 2 days later, my grandmother got a call from none other than Ray Davis. He invited me out to lunch. Sometime later, he, his son Parker, and I gathered at Cracker Barrel, and for the first time since my father died, I had felt normal. There was no egregious sympathies, just a lunch filled with laughter and 2 people who have since become family. That day, the Davises went from leaders to heroes in my eyes. In my life, there's always been immense evil, but if there's anything that I've learned, it's that good always triumphs over evil. An example of this would be my father, the last hero I'd like to mention today. Every day and night, he battled with everything from urges and withdrawals to his legacy and his family's idea of him. Every young boy looks up to his dad. I was no different. To me, he was 10 foot tall and bulletproof. From the long hours spent explaining mechanics to me and the magic quarters he kept pulling out of my ears, I was amazed. When a father loses a son, he loses a piece of himself. It is no different when a son loses a father. April 16th, 2021, that amazement would turn to shock. The piece of me that he held onto tightly would fall out of place. The hero I once knew was gone. In his place, however, a new hero was born, one that fought each day to love, be loved, and show it. The hero that was invincible became a symbol for bravery. He was afraid, beaten, and broken, and yet he still kept going. He may have passed, but for all of us who truly knew him, he lives in our hearts, taking up a 10-foot tall space. I'll leave you with this, family. Who are you heroes? Thank you.